you! Get away from me!
Well, I'm soon to be the new you, whenever I steal your identity, of course.
No!
Well, it was that moment that I realized my identity was crushed. At that time, little did I know it would all happen from a simple text.
Her name is Ashley, and this is her story on identity theft. First of all, I'm sure you may be wondering, who am I? I am Ashley's brother Nate. I'm going to be telling the story for her because she was afraid somebody would take that audio and consume her identity again. Let's start off with what is identity theft? Well, according to an article titled Identity Theft on Investopedia, identity theft is the crime of obtaining the personal or financial information of another person for the sole purpose of assuming that person's name or identity to make transactions or purchases. Identity theft is committed many different ways. Later that same night, my sister got a text again from that same number.
OMG, I hate spell check. Ugh.
And that right there is where you can see my sister made that huge mistake of giving that man her number and her information. Because little did she know, this person ended up not being her friend. This is someone who has acted as her friend and got the information that he wanted from her. From the same article as before, identity thieves increasingly use computer technology to obtain other people's personal information for identity fraud. To find such information, they may search the hard drives of stolen or discarded computers, hack into computers or computer networks, access computer-based public records, use information gathering malware to infect computers, browse social media networking sites, or use deceptive emails or text messages. Due to my sister's little dilemma with identity theft, it has caused me to want to research more about it and learn the true aspects of it and what it can truly do to a person. There are a variety of different types of identity theft, such as child, financial, medical, criminal, business, synthetic, social, and cyber. I learned that information from the Investopedia source. To start off, child identity theft is a growing theft as we speak. According to an article titled "What is Identity Theft?" on Parents.com, child identity theft is a crime in which criminals have specifically targeted children for their personal data such as their SSN, date of birth, and name. Moreover, the same article also informs that the thief can gain the children's personal information from forms, school, taxes, doctor's office, and so forth that may or may not have been stored securely. Internet security breaches can also lead to personal information being stolen or leaked. From the same article, in order to prevent child identity theft, the FTC recommends that parents check to see if their child has a credit report when she turns 16 to avoid that unpleasant surprise. Or consider a more frightening scenario related to medical records of someone in your area stealing your child's information. I actually happened to have an interview with one of my teachers who had experienced this problem herself. Mrs. Natalie Grattan quoted, "I acted as quickly as possible to avoid this child identity scam. I had to take it to the police and file many reports about it." Her child had been getting reports that were concerning to her through the mail, and her child was only 3 years old, so there was no reasoning for him to get credit reports. So she reported this to the cops as soon as possible to avoid any long-term expenses her child could go through or dilemmas. According to an article titled "Synthetic Identity Theft" by Amy Fontel, I'm going to talk a little bit about synthetic identity theft. That is when illegal immigrants will be legal in the US by using the social security numbers that they have invented or that belong to someone else to be legal and to be able to live a normal life. Furthermore, synthetic identity theft lets the thief steal money from any credit card company or anybody who extend credit by using this synthetic identity. However, you're left wondering, how can they steal your information through synthetic identity theft? Well, according to that same article, the criminal racks up charges with no intent of repaying them, and the credit card company loses because it can't collect payment from the fake identity that established that account. According to an article titled "Why Medical Identity Theft is Rising and How to Protect Yourself" by Laura Shin. In addition to synthetic, I'm going to talk a little bit about medical identity theft. It's one of the most common in today's society. According to that article, for the past 3 years, the health/medical sector has accounted for the highest percent, 42.5%, according to 2014, of total hackings of any industry. Another quick fact about medical identity theft, according to the same article, 91% of healthcare organizations have had at least one data breach involving the loss or theft of patient data in the last 2 years, and 59% of their business associates experienced the same thing. Okay, the results of medical identity theft, according to that same article, if somebody's medical information mixes with the victim's, she could receive medication to which she is allergic, or her record may contain the incorrect blood type. It could lead to disasters. Another result could, from the same article, lead to the methodology in healthcare in terms of payments is they'll make payments first, and if they detect that there's a fraud, they'll chase it after. They're basically gonna detect if there's fraud, and if they notice some changes, they will go after it to help resolve the problem and see who truly this person is. Not quite as common, but driver's license identity theft I'm going to talk a little bit about because that's where I started my research, because my sister had experienced that same exact thing when she gave this random number her information. According to an article titled Driver's License / Identity Theft Consumer Reports News by Anthony Giorgani, driver's license identity theft is when scanning or swiping driver's licenses or other types of identification and storing the data is becoming commonplace among stores and other businesses, schools, government buildings, and more. Also, according to that article, we are opposed to it as being an invasion of privacy and creating the potential for identity theft, which is quite obvious. Overall, it's quite clear on how serious identity theft is to a person and what it can truly do. It can take somebody's privacy, freedom, who they are as a person away from them and give all of the power to somebody else. Now let's see what happens to my sister later on in this story. She ended up getting an unfamiliar text that led her on to believe that this wasn't her friend from school. And after she had sent her information out, it really caused her distress. It might seem like a lot, but after placing several police charges and discovering who exactly this Robert was, we were able to get her identity back, but it takes a lot more time than you think it does. So take into consideration how real identity theft is and prevent yourself from experiencing that.
Who are you? Get away from me!
Well, I'm soon to be the new you, whenever I steal your identity, of course.
No!